First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Gainesville City Commissioners vote for an independent review of GRU. That's our top story tonight. I'm Chloe Craig.
And I'm Taylor Nunez. The city is willing to spend nearly $200,000 to get to the bottom of the biomass deal and other factors driving GRU's high rates. WUFT's Nicole Acevedo joins us now with more details.
Ladies, commissioners have been receiving complaints on GRU's rates for years, but within the last couple of months, they decided to go out with an outside firm to study the records. GRU critics have collected hundreds of signatures asking the city for an external audit. No one is sure what will come of this review, but given the recent history, there are also plenty of people who say it's overdue.
This GREC biomass contract is the worst negotiated contract in our city's history.
Debbie Martinez has been doing her homework on GRU for years. She's happy the City Commission is hiring consultants to take an in-depth look of GRU practices dating back to 2007, with a focus on the deal between GRU and GREC, the company that built the biomass plant.
Our concern started when a group of citizens, all Democrats, took legal action against the city to reveal the terms of the contract, and that's when we found out that the GREC contract, obligated GRU customers to pay more than twice the market rate for electricity.
The contract allows GRU to purchase energy produced at the biomass plant behind me and deliver it to residents. But some of these same residents say they didn't want this contract to be signed in the first place. Commissioner Todd Chase says city officials agree the investigation is necessary in order to clean up GRU and get rid of its bad reputation among some customers.
We have for a long time. I think what we're really doing is trying to just make sure there's not things that we can't learn from, procedures in the future that we can make sure that we follow in the event of decision making by some of our charter officers.
The review will cost the city about $180,000, with special scrutiny in the change to the contract that added $100 million to the 30-year costs.
We're looking to hopefully be able to fix this contract, renegotiate the contract, and if for some reason they find there's fraud, to make the contract void.
Commissioner Chase says it's unlikely there will be any way to amend the deal, but he's still anxious to see what the firm comes up with and if there are any recommendations for moving forward.
The Marion County Sheriff's Office is now investigating the death of Edward Moffitt as a homicide. The Sheriff's Office initially classified the death as suspicious when family members found Moffitt's body on his yard yesterday morning. There was no obvious explanation, and relatives were worried someone might have killed him. An autopsy was performed, but the Sheriff's Office has not revealed the cause of death.
The city of Gainesville is funding a month of staffing to keep the pavilion open at Grace Marketplace. The pavilion can house up to 56 people, and a month of operations will cost the city more than $6,300. The money will go towards staffing, food, and maintenance. For now, the extra funding is set to end on November the 5th.
At our last meeting, the coalition was going to be closing the pavilion down because of the budget crunch that they're in, and we felt like it was an important part of the operation out there, so we wanted to try to help them fund it for at least another month while they understand better what their money is being spent on.
There are a very limited number of indoor beds with just one dorm open to start with. Some of the other clients prefer the pavilion area over the nearby tent city.
It was another absolutely gorgeous day here in North Central Florida, and it's starting to feel a bit more like fall.
UF forecaster Brittany Van Voorhees is in the Weather Center tracking the unseasonably cool evening tonight.
Chloe, Taylor, those unseasonably cool temperatures will continue into those overnight hours. It was a gorgeous day here in North Central Florida, and we definitely felt a little bit of a fall breeze. If you take a look at the current live cam over the University of Florida, you can see not a cloud in the sky. Currently 77 degrees, feels like 80. What a gorgeous day. If you felt a little bit of a breeze today, it was due to those winds. Currently 13 miles per hour at the Gainesville Regional Airport, and as those winds continue to dissipate into those evening hours, we're going to start to see a little bit of a temperature drop, 61 by 10 p.m., 56 by 2 a.m., and those temperatures will continue to be cool into the rest of your weekend. Coming up in my full weather forecast, I'll tell you your full game day weekend forecast.
The state is dropping charges against 4 people who were tased by Tallahassee police officers. Police officers used a stun gun on 61-year-old woman, her daughter, and grandchildren. The state says the usage was not unlawful, but the evidence indicates it was unnecessary.
You know, folks ought not to obstruct an officer, ought not to resist an officer. But officers also, by the same token, have to understand the limits of their authority.
The Tallahassee police chief suspended one officer after the incident, but the state attorney's office says the police department is still investigating the matter internally. Fangate. Chris hits the fan. Scott loses his cool. People are still making up lines to describe the bizarre start to last night's debate in the race for governor. NBC's Steve Litz has more.
The fan at Charlie Crist's feet delayed Wednesday night's gubernatorial debate, with Governor Rick Scott refusing to take the stage, protesting the fan.
Governor Scott, why the delay in coming out over a fan?
Well, I waited until we figured out if he was going to show up. He said he wasn't going to come to the. He said he was going to come to the debate.
Democratic spinsters had a field day with the fan.
And the governor of the state of Florida decided that he did not want to give the people of the state of Florida an opportunity to hear him if the other guy had a fan. That's what this is about.
Republican Senator Marco Rubio spun the issue for Governor Scott.
It was distracting. You can clearly hear it in the microphones. What was more distracting...
The fan was distracting in the microphones?
Sure, you could hear it. You could hear that. Certainly in the hall you could.
The candidates took opposing sides on most every issue raised, from the economy to education to same-sex marriages.
Who is it for us to tell other people who to love? And what is it in our right to tell other people who to marry?
I believe in traditional marriage. The court's going to decide. This is a decision for the courts, and they'll ultimately make the decision.
The shooting death of Trayvon Martin was raised, with the candidates stating their positions on Florida's controversial Stand Your Ground law.
There is something fundamentally flawed with that law. I believe that we can protect the right to defend yourself and make sure that we don't have laws on the books that end up with the tragic death of Trayvon Martin.
I would not change the law. I think that death is a tragic death, but I believe in the right to defend yourself.
Panelists called both candidates out for not answering questions. This was the second debate. The third and last is set for next week.
Libertarian Adrian Wiley tried a legal challenge to get into the debate, but was not allowed because the organizers preset a 15% threshold, and he's been polling around 8%. His campaign says this debate illustrated how ridiculous the two main parties have become, apart from Fangate, just from falling back on campaign lines rather than discussing issues. The third and final debate, if Chris and Scott both show up, is scheduled for Tuesday in the Chili television studio of WJXT in Jacksonville, with the debate airing live on CNN.
The St. Francis House is launching a new fundraising campaign with a first-ever television appeal. This week, the shelter has started running public service announcements to get more volunteers and donors. The city and the county provide $50,000 per year to the homeless shelter, but the facility needs $1.1 million annually to maintain operations. That money provides beds, food, blankets, towels, and more. Staff at St. Francis House says with the holidays approaching, this is a prime time to reach people.
Truthfully, the major impact for St. Francis House is the funding in the community. More places is open, there's only so much funding, and that impacts us directly.
St. Francis House officials hope this campaign will make the cold months feel a lot warmer.
When we come back, there's a new development in breast cancer research. A new type of mammogram could help women discover breast cancer sooner.
And the CDC has been under fire over its response to the Ebola crisis, and today Congress got a chance to ask tough questions. More on that story after the break.